Hey, it's Chuck. Today on the show, spring practice next week. We'll talk position battles that I'm interested in, steel chambers, combine update, my experience so far with the new Big Ten members, and a Trey McNUTT update. Let's get it. And I don't think he's going to throw the ball as much as he thinks he's going to throw the ball now that Chip Kelly's on board. And I'm happy about that. More quarterback. The truth is Ryan Day has made a change philosophically, but it's none of those. You all know who wins. LSU is the drunkest fan base in the country.
To start, that means we've got to...
And welcome in. Right off the top here, I don't know if you guys have had any experience so far with the new Big Ten fan bases, USC, UCLA, Washington, and Oregon. But there is an interesting dynamic happen here, and it's essentially USC fan base very much identifies with the Michigan fan base, and they've clicked up. As a result, the Oregon fan base, who's just kind of normal like us, has kind of come to our side. So we've got this interesting kind of bizarre dynamic going between the fan bases. It's a lot of fun. I'd encourage you to hop on social media in your spare time and join in on it. The Michigan arrogance and the USC arrogance, along with delusion, just kind of clicks really well together. And it's quite entertaining. So this topic's been going around, and I wanted to kind of share my thoughts on my experiences so far with the fan bases and who I compare them to in the current Big Ten landscape. So you got USC, arrogant and delusional. They're like Michigan a lot, so they hand in hand. Oregon fans, they're like us. They stay tuned into the news as well, like us. Michigan fans are totally oblivious always. They just make stuff up. Washington reminds me a tremendous amount of Michigan State, both in success of the programs and the kind of engagement of their fan base as a whole. And UCLA reminds me of Purdue, not in the success of the program, but the fan base and the interest, and it's just blah. There's nothing there. Very similar. But I will say that when we're talking about the four of these schools, we've got four of the most beautiful uniforms. I mean, these are classic, gorgeous uniforms. And you know I'm a uniform guy, obviously. Love college memorabilia. But the USC uniform is just a traditional beauty. I absolutely have always loved it, despite hating them. And the Washington uniform, that old gold and the purple. Where the hell is that guy? Oh. That's gorgeous. I've always loved Washington. Oregon is darn good looking, too, when they wear their traditional stuff. I don't like their other goofy ones. But obviously the best of the best, as always. And I know a lot of you like that black uniform. I don't really care for it. I got the helmet back there somewhere. I don't really care for it. A lot of you guys love it. I'm happy we didn't wear it last year. I'd like to never see it again. I'm a traditionalist. I want our gray sleeves back. You see all my jerseys are the ones with gray sleeves, something I rail on about. But let's get into spring football, what we really want to talk about here. So Sonny has finally moved to the linebacker room, and now this is instantly he's the favorite for Will, right? He's the favorite for Will linebacker. He'll be competing with C.J. Hicks, and you know, when they came in together as 5 stars, both, 10th and 27th nationally ranked guys, I certainly thought that by year 3, with the two of them, we would be kind of seeing 2 somewhat seasoned monsters heading in to play their 3rd year together, and we would be really fired up to see them. Instead, they're going to be competing against each other. And that sucks because somebody's going to win that job and somebody we're going to see a lot less. And while I do agree that there is a sentiment going on that the season is a lot longer now for good teams as we enter into the new playoff, that we're going to see more playing time spread, amongst the 2 deep. But we also know human nature, and we know how stubborn football coaches are, particularly Ryan Day and Jim Knowles. These are 2 very stubborn guys. We don't need to go too far back just to the Cotton Bowl to point out a very stubborn instance when Carson Hinsman, the center, was benched and Enoch came in and started at right guard. Matt Jones moved to center, and it wasn't long into that game before we saw that this wasn't going to work. Missouri was calling up all sorts of blitzes. Matt Jones didn't know the calls as a center, and they were absolutely teeing off on the quarterback, who quickly got injured, and then they were teeing off on the freshman quarterback. And despite all that, Ryan Day never made a change. Now, he knows more about football than in his pinky finger than I'll ever know. But, we know human nature, and we know how to run organizations, and we've probably been on both sides of a situation like this. but he benched Carson Hinzman, and he held to it the whole game. He never pivoted off that decision. So, I mean, the level of stubborn it takes to sit there and watch that offensive line get destroyed and never pivot off of that, some serious level of stubborn there. So, you know, I mean, he led us to believe it was about a couple of bad practices. Either that's true, or he was lying to us and it was something more serious, a team violation that he didn't want to, you know, let us know about. And that's fine. I can respect him wanting to keep his in-house discipline in-house and not put the player on blast. I can respect that. But it does make him look awfully stubborn. If it's true that off of a couple of bad practices, he decided to never try to make a change off of what was going on there, we all saw was just a disaster, an absolute disaster on the offensive line. So I can't be 100% sure. We'll take his word for it. But when we talk about Jim Knowles, we know this is another stubborn guy. He does not roll the dice at all. He's a guy who wants known quantities. And if you are not where you're supposed to be in Jim Knowles' defense, you are making improper reads, or you're not playing as quick as you need to be because you're not studied up and reading it as fast as you need to be. You're not playing. That's just it. And he doesn't give you a second chance very quick. You're out and you're out for a long time. He's got a dog list and it lasts a long time. So we know Hartline is the same way. His rotation isn't deep. Larry Johnson's the same way. So we're talking about stubborn guys. And they've already all publicly said that they understand the season is long and there's going to be more initiative to play more guys, more snaps in more positions than ever before. And that's the plan. But, you know, there's a human nature element to this, and we all know that we always revert back to what's most comfortable, and change is very hard. So the guy that gets the leg up between C.J. Hicks and Sonny Styles in spring here is going to get a ton of more time on the field, and they're going to separate themselves more once they get more of that playing time. It's just good. The gap's going to get even wider. So I'm not looking at this battle as this is going to be a 60-40 split. One guy's going to start and the other guy's going to play a ton. I don't think that's going to be like that at all. I think Sonny's going to win this battle. He's the clear favorite. They did everything they could to get Sonny on the field, you know, just even out of position, in my opinion. And I commend him for that because Sonny is a freaky dude and he obviously, it's clicking for him. But so is CJ. And they didn't do whatever it took to get CJ on the field. And that tells me that Sonny, they trust, and CJ, they don't, right? So that's been I think most of our takeaways from it. And Sonny has flashed out. I mean, he flashed out of position. He looked great. And now at linebacker, I think he's going to just elevate to the next level. And I've been looking forward to it since he arrived on campus. One of my favorite all-time recruits. Just absolutely love Sonny Styles. But let's keep in mind, he's also playing next to Cody Simon, who's a great leader and a vet. And I think that is going to be an awesome pairing, provided Sonny wins the spot. That's not to say Gabe Powers or C.J. Hicks won't beat him out. And C.J. still isn't getting rave reviews. The last we heard out of James Laurinaitis, he was praising his talent and saying sometimes it takes a little longer for it to click for some guys. So there's a big discussion going on about C.J. Hicks as to whether it not clicking for him is a coaching thing or a player thing. A guy who's as gifted as C.J. Hicks not playing this much at this point in his career, it's just hard for us to accept sometimes that could possibly be on him. So people want to blame coaching and want to blame development. And the point that they're making is there's a number of guys recently who've come in and through the course of their career have not reached expectations. Many feel a lot more on the defensive side, a higher percentage. And to a certain extent, I think, you know, you kind of got to agree with that. But I also think, I think the amount of returning guys for their senior year and that didn't enter the draft, that wanted to come back and improve their draft grades is kind of evidence of that. But I'm also slow to come to the conclusion that when it comes to C.J. Hicks, this is coaching. Because I've seen him play, you've seen him play, his lack of decisiveness, and he just looks like he's playing scared to mess up. He's not using his natural ability because he's not sure what to do. That's the way he comes off to me when I see him on the field so far. Well, you know, sometimes that can click in a hurry, and I really hope that it does, but him and Sonny, one of them is going to be riding the pine, and I don't like it. I'd love to have them both on the field, but CJ's got to bring it. And Sonny, we know will. So you also got Gabe Powers, who's an absolute stud, another dude out of Ohio, and Arvell Reese from Glenville. These are 4 Ohio dudes fighting for this spot here, and that's great. But Powers is massive. He can move. He has a lot of folks saying he's the dark horse to win this job. If you're going to pick one, I think he's a great candidate as a dark horse. I'd take him over Arvell Reese. Neither of these guys are as touted as Sonny or CJ, but we're talking about Gabe Powers was a top 100 recruit, and Arvell Reese was a top 200 recruit. So Arvell Reese, 6'3", 240. He's long and he's fast, and he's a stud too. I think he'll push him, but I don't think he's really got a shot at winning a serious shot at winning this job. Side note, I was watching a clip from a 2007 Buckeyes game, and back then, we don't really see it anymore, but back then, every single game, at the beginning of the game, they would pull up the starting offensive and the starting defensive, whole team for both teams, and they would add their hometowns. And I think in 2007, there was like 10 from Ohio on offense and 9 from Ohio on defense, something we definitely don't see anymore. It was insane. I used to love that. I wish they would still do that, but we don't see it anymore. But we're definitely a national brand now. Recruiting is much different, not just for us, but for everybody when it comes to spreading out. Minimally, they spread out through their region. But for big boys like Ohio State, for everybody now, it's just totally national. And there's give and take there. There's give and take. Definitely when it comes to the rivalry game, there's been some, we've given on that one, but we're taking some good stuff when it comes to a lot of other areas. But I definitely do miss more of that Ohio flavor. And it's nice to have these 4 guys competing for that spot. All be Ohio boys. Linebacker is my favorite position, and I do always enjoy when we got a stud Ohio high school player that comes up to Ohio State and gets that job. So a lot of people get zero excitement when it comes to Cody Simon. Now, my thoughts on Cody Simon, it's like sometimes when a guy doesn't get a big role till year 5, which he's in, we kind of automatically think, well, he's not really much of a difference maker, or he would have played a lot more before. Cody's played a lot, but I'm seeing a lot of people who are just very ho-hum about Cody. I'm jazzed about Cody. And yes, he's a known quantity. We know what he is, and we think we know his limitations. But I think he's well above average in the run game. He's efficient on third down, but it would be nice to have a third down package that got somebody else in there that was maybe a little better. And we know James said he wishes that he would play him more last year. Again, speaking to the stubbornness of coaches, he wouldn't adjust that. He waited way too long to adjust that when Steel Chambers was struggling big time. But Cody made some crucial plays last year. He made a play at Notre Dame late in the game on a 4th down. It was just a ridiculous athletic play. And the situational awareness, which is where he's going to excel, because he's really smart, and he's a vet, and he's a hell of a leader, and they really all look up to him. You can really see that. But I'm telling you, that 4th down play was one of the best plays of the season for the Buckeyes. It was almost as if he could physically feel the first down line on his back and was not going to give that up. And the ball stopped. He stopped him inches short, and it was awesome. So I feel incredibly comfortable with Cody out there leading the defense, and I think that's important. And I think a lot of times when I was younger, I didn't feel that way. I think younger me would have been saying, Knowles is an idiot. CJ Hicks needs to be starting with Sonny right now. You put our 2 most athletic guys out there. But Cody's the best right now. But Sonny is the man. And he looks like he's already putting on weight. I'm going to post a picture that I saw the other day. He's getting massive, and he carries it great. I expect nothing but stardom out of Sonny. I fully expect him to win that job. He's just sick. There was a hit that Sonny Styles put on that very good running back from Rutgers this year. He ran for like 160 yards against us, like almost 7 yards a carry, I think. And this particular hit, it wasn't a big hit, but it was very interesting to me because Sonny and this dude, Kyle Manangai or something, they met in the hole. And when Kyle saw Sonny, he saw him plenty of time, and he kind of braced for impact. He saw the collision coming. It wasn't out of the blue, but he didn't expect what it would feel like. And after years of football, your body just kind of comes naturally prepared when you take a blow, how to leverage it, how to take the hit properly when you collide. And once in a while, you hit somebody that you weren't quite prepared for, and you could see that in Kyle Monangamai's body, the way it reacted when Sonny hit him. It was like he hit a brick wall, and his knee just dropped immediately to the ground. And it was an interesting play. And I could almost see in his body language when he was getting up that he was puzzled as to what just happened. And Sonny Styles just happened, dude. Sonny Styles is that dude. He's different. And we use that term for a lot of guys these days, but Sonny Styles is truly different. And definitely the odds-on favorite to win this job. And let's take it over to tight end. Now, tight end, we got the transfer Will Kazmarek in from Ohio University. He is the lock for me to log the most snaps this season. And I think that the rest of the transfer portal class was so good and so dynamic that it overshadowed him, because this dude is awesome. And he's not just a guy for depth. Not only is he big at 6'5", 260, he's nasty, and he has a chip on his shoulder and something to prove from being passed over in the recruiting process, which he was during the COVID period when coaches could not visit much, and he just got overlooked. I really think that. He's got good hands. He caught 22 balls last year. I watched some of his film. He's got good hands. He made some really nice catches. He's hard to bring down. He's a moose. He's kind of fast. You know, he's not a burner, but he's kind of fast. He reminds you a lot of Cade, to be honest. He just plays nasty like Cade. And, yeah, he's from Ohio University, but he was sought after. They wanted him in the transfer portal. It wasn't just the Buckeyes that got him because he was a local guy. So a lot of people act like NFL players don't come out of the MAC. I've seen a lot of people knocking that he's from Ohio University. This dude's going to be a pro now. And my favorite kind of transfer is a guy who is overlooked in high school, goes to a lower level, takes that chip on his shoulder, becomes a star at a lower level, like the MAC, and then gets that call up. That is a recipe for success. And Kaz is legit. And I'm telling you, if we use him in the passing game, and I think Chip's gonna, he's going to be a star. He's going to be a star if he catches balls, because he's going to be nasty like Cade, and everybody's going to love this dude. So I'm very interested to see Will Kazmarek. And there's been in the passing game, yes, not the throw game. So certain lingo comes in and out of style. And lately, the last 2 years or so, people have been saying the throw game. That term really bothers the shit out of me. The throw game. It makes me want to throw up. So in the passing game, you know what else? The line to gain. We used to just call it a first down, and we refer to it as the line to gain. I've heard that a lot lately. That's cheesy too. I won't say that. So honestly, Jelani Thurman had me really jazzed coming into this season at tight end. He's obviously a moose. He's a freak. He's a little raw. I don't think he's too caught up yet on blocking, but he is elite athletically. His dad played in the NFL. Odell Thurman, he played for the Bengals. And he's going to be a badass, but I don't think he's quite ready. So he's going to be pushing for a lot of minutes, and they'll play a lot of two-end sets this year. But when they're in those two tight end sets, is it going to be Will Kazmarek and Jelani Thurman, or Will Kazmarek and G. Scott? G's going to get in the mix, and I think G is a great Buckeye. And his dad is an awesome Buckeye too. His dad, he's a motivational speaker. The guys on the team love him. This is a great family. G's an awesome kid. And when we signed him as a 5-star receiver, I definitely did not think that he would be around this long. I thought he'd be in the NFL. I definitely didn't think he would be at tight end and not have a starting role locked up, because he was unbelievable in high school. But here we are. Unfortunately, I think he's just limited because he's just not big and strong enough at tight end to do the majority of the things that we need tight ends to do. So I don't see his playing time increasing a ton from last season. I think that he's going to get about the same amount of playing time, and we're going to see Will Kazmarek kind of roll right into the role that Stover had. That's the way I see this playing out. But G is a foundation guy, and you need those guys in your program. He's a great Buckeye. It's team first. Everybody on the team loves him, and I like to celebrate guys like that. Another one that we lost was Julian Fleming, same type of guy. I'll be rooting really hard for him at Penn State because he was an awesome Buckeye, and despite that he left, I'm going to be rooting hard for him. Everybody loved that guy. That was a great program guy. So obviously at running back, we know what the deal is. We got Trey and we got Quinn. It is really going to be interesting to see what Dallin Hayden does because he's going to get a ton of action this spring, and so will stud freshman James Peoples, who's already built for it. This dude's built for college. Legs like tree trunks. Dallin Hayden is so effective to me. I mean, he's not exciting. Some people find him exciting. I don't find him particularly exciting or have a lot of wiggle. But he's good and he's effective, and he's kind of nasty running. But there was a chorus last year that was yelling to get him on the field. I was part of it, and I don't want to get into too much of a negative Ryan Day because he's made me so happy lately. But the decision to continue to keep Dallin Hayden on the bench to preserve his red shirt when they absolutely could have used him, I will never agree with. However, I'm happy for Dallin now that he has it for his career because he may leave after spring. He was the next man up. Trey was leaving, and it was him with a couple of freshmen and James Peoples and Sam Williams-Dixon coming in. And we were wondering, who was going to fill in some of that depth because that was only going to be 3 running backs. And then all of a sudden, Quinshawn comes in first, and then Trey comes back. And now Dallin, it was going to be his team. He's relegated to 3rd string. Can you imagine how deflating that must have been for this poor dude? He's put his work in. He's put his time in. And he was undoubtedly salty last year that he didn't get any playing time. I think he played in 3 games, maybe 4. You can play in 4 and preserve your red shirt. 5, the bowl game, that one's free. So you can play in technically 5. He didn't even reach that. And I'm sure everyone around him was telling him, next year, you're the next man up. Keep your head up. Just get through this season. And we get to this season, and here we are. He gets relegated down to 3rd string, just out of the blue. Freak situation. I don't blame the coaches. Nothing you can do about it. You had to take Quinshawn Judkins, but I also wouldn't blame him if he leaves after spring because I can kind of see him taking the attitude like I've just had enough of being skipped over like this, and he can go split a backfield at another awesome program right now. He could have done it last year. He's that effective. He's that good. I keep calling him effective. He just doesn't get my juices flowing. I love running backs. He's not one that really does it for me, but I would have loved to see him play. I do think he's good, but we're talking about Quinshawn and Trey. These are 2 sexy running backs. These dudes got the juice. So Dallin Hayden would have a lot of suitors if he hits the portal, and I hope he stays. I really do. If he does, I'll be incredibly impressed by this dude as a young man. That would be really cool. I just find it hard to believe this day and age that someone would go through as much kind of crap as he's been through and still stick around through that again for another year. But I will have so much respect for him if he does. I'm just kind of bracing myself that I think he's probably not going to want to. I've heard nothing from him or from anybody else about that. It's just kind of I don't know. I put myself in people's shoes when we're talking about these young dudes and try to think, what would I think if I was 20 in this situation? And I think I would say, I've had enough of this crap. I'm out of here and I'm going to play somewhere. So let's hope he doesn't think like young Juck. Offensive line. Now, this is obviously a massive area that we need to improve. The biggest concern of the team going into next year is the offensive line. And I think it's safe to assume that the left side is set. Donovan Jackson's going to be at left guard again. Josh Simmons at left tackle again. Both played pretty good. Donovan wasn't great, certainly not lived up yet to his 5-star, one of the top offensive linemen in the country coming out of high school, but he's been solid. Josh Simmons has been better than expected. So I think they're pretty much set on the left side. And I think it's pretty safe to say that Seth McLaughlin is going to start at center. I know Carson Hinsman, a lot of people are saying, hey, look, his PFF grade equal to Seth McLaughlin. And it's true. They were. And a lot of people pointed that out. And Carson was only a freshman. He's still got a shot to win this job. And to be honest, I don't think Carson played bad. He was slightly below average and he had a couple bad games. But there were some times when he got beat that it was just based on not being quite big and strong enough physically and not mature enough physically. He's young. It's not a knock on him. He just hasn't had the time to develop. With McLaughlin, I think he's a fifth-year senior. So he's a big, thick dude. And he's not an awesome center, and he's had the snapping problems. We know that. But he also came in as a senior in the portal. Now, if you're a senior trying to improve your draft stock, I just can't see anybody pulling the trigger to transfer somewhere unless the coach is kind of telling you wink, wink, nod, nod, yeah, you'll have a fair shot at the job. I've heard a couple people I respect this week, specifically talking about Will Howard, and does he really have this job? And I just cannot see anybody making that commitment. Now, granted, I'm not saying the coach says, come, you're going to start here immediately, but saying, listen, you got a serious leg up if you come here. This is probably going to be your job if you are the player that I'm seeing on film. I think that's more what happens when it's a senior. Or Caleb Downs probably got it. Hey, yeah. We can agree that Caleb Downs probably got the yes, you're starting. But I definitely think McLaughlin is going to be the starting center. And as we move over to the right side, that's where we got the question marks. So we're talking right guard, right tackle, and I think we're looking at some combination of Luke Montgomery, Tegra Shabala, or Josh Fryer, who was the starting right tackle. Wasn't that great. I think he had some bad games last year. I don't think he was terrible overall. I know a lot of people do. I could be a little soft on him because I've heard him in some interviews talking about wanting to transfer when he was younger and persevering through it, and then he earned that starting job last year. So I could be a little soft on him because of that. I liked him. But my money is on Tegra and Luke winning those two jobs, and I'm kind of leaning for Luke to win that tackle. So Luke Montgomery at right tackle, Tegra Shabala at right guard. And we're talking about two guys with pedigree. Fryer doesn't have it. I try to put this out of my head, man. Fryer was a 3-star project guy, and Tegra and Luke were big-time recruits. So I always try to keep that out of my mind, but it always creeps back in because I follow recruiting so close. So, I mean, I like Shabala. Shabala's 6'4", and Montgomery's 6'4" too. So Fryer, he's longer. He's closer to 6'6", which you want that at tackle. But, you know, you got to go with the best guy, and I think that's going to prove to be Luke Montgomery. But it's always so hard to predict offensive line because it's like they come in, we're excited about them when they come in, especially when they're big recruits like Luke was and Tegra was. And then it's just you kind of put them in the bank. They're just long-term investments because they need so much time to develop and so much to learn. And we don't hear again from them for a couple of years, usually 3 years. We don't even really hear much about him. And then we hear him, it's like, yeah, I remember him. Here he comes. Now he's competing for a job. And we always have to kind of base our opinions with linemen just off of kind of what we're hearing because we never really see much from them. So who knows? But we do know that Seth McLaughlin, when we talk. And that'll do it for our offensive line talk. In conclusion, I think at left tackle, we got Josh Simmons. Left guard, we got Donovan Jackson. Center, new starter, Seth McLaughlin, transfer from Alabama. Right guard, new starter, Tegra Shabala. Right tackle, Luke Montgomery, new starter. And I think that Luke Montgomery, towards the middle to the end of the season, is going to come on and be a really, really good right tackle. I predict he's going to be our next stud lineman. So that's what we're looking at. Now, on to the combine. We've got a couple updates here. Mike Hall Jr. did not participate in any drills. He only did interviews. He said that he tweaked his hamstring a couple days before So he will not be doing anything until Pro Day, which is March 20th at Ohio State. And I've seen a lot of people criticizing his decision to not go, thinking that he's making a mistake by not pushing through it, or maybe trying to avoid the workouts, which we know sometimes happen at the combine. But I don't see it that way at all, because Mike Hall Jr. is incredibly quick and incredibly explosive. His knock is his size, so working out's only going to help him. So I just don't think that would be advantageous for him at all to try and avoid the workouts, because there's no way he wouldn't test good in those. And it's not as if Ohio State Pro Day has low attendance. They're all there. Like 24 to 26 teams are represented every Ohio State Pro Day. So I definitely think his advisors know what they're doing on that. And Mike Hall Jr. is probably going to surprise some people, getting drafted a little higher than he would have. And I think Steel Chambers might too, just based off the quality of dude he is and his personality, because I've got a story for you. So if you've never listened to Steel Chambers in his interviews when he was at Ohio State, this dude loves the spotlight, and he's got one weird personality, but he kind of draws you in. So Steel was giving his press conference, like 60 reporters, and they just cycle in the guys at the combine. They each get like 10 to 17 minutes or so. And they're asking him questions. And in the middle of Steel Chambers' press conference, he stops and he says, listen, I just want to ask you guys something. I just want to ask all you guys something. If you had to go to war and you could bring 4 animals to war with you against me and my 4 animals, what animals would you bring and why? And these reporters are just looking around like, is this dude serious? And he was, because he was pointing them out. Answer, no, you, right, no, okay, over here. And he wanted an answer. And one guy finally humored him, and he gives him an answer. And Steele is engaging this guy. Okay, yeah, I can't hear what the guy's saying. But, okay, yeah, and in the end, Steele says, okay, I think you made a good choice, but I don't think you have a chance. It's just bizarre, man. Anyway, Steele's choices were elephant, tiger, hippo, and polar or grizzly bear, depending on the climate, which I thought was nice of him to make sure the bear was comfortable when he went to war. But apparently Steele's never heard of a cavalry, because I've got to think that I'm going to pick a horse for one of those. I want to be mounted. I don't know the full rules because he didn't discuss the full rules, but I think that the man is allowed to have a weapon. I would think that if you're going to war with animals, probably not a gun, just a classic weapon. So if I can have a weapon, put me on a horse, because I want to be able to, stick and move. I know I'm going to be down one animal. I'll accept that, because if things go bad, I can also get away with that horse. I know you're thinking the tiger would catch the horse. I'm banking on me slaying the tiger with a deft move in the beginning while I'm mounted on the horse. So my horse, I'm going to go with an elephant, a hippo, and a rhino, because a rhino, I think Steele is sleeping on. That is like a dinosaur, and they really like to fight. I watched some Naked and Afraids, and they're in the savannah, and those rhinos, they're fighting all the time. They're nasty. So I'd like to know yours. Tell me your 4. I think it would be interesting, since he's at the combine, at the draft, why not make it a question based on, if we're drafting our top 4 animals, who's your first pick? That's what I'd like to know. I've decided I'm going to go with hippo. First pick, hippo. You might want to pick elephant. I think that'd be a good one too, but I think that the hippo is a safer pick, and I'm going to pick him first. You can go ahead and pick elephant. Matter of fact, if you're picking first, I got more value to let you pick first, because you're going to pick elephant. I'll pick hippo second and get him at a lower price. So Steele also wanted to add in his press conference that he thinks he could fight a kangaroo and win 1 out of 10 times. What a personality on this guy. This is just awesome. And I'm telling you, he is, along with his personality, smart, and another A-plus character guy coming out of Ryan Day's program. And I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, man. Ryan Day, you can criticize him for a lot, and I've made plenty. But every time I hear one of his guys, they talk like they're 10 years older than they are in maturity, and they are just such quality kids, man. All of them. In the culture, the quality of people that he brings into the program, and the quality of the people that must be around the program, that they foster this environment to mold these kids, it's second to none. I hate to wax on so poetically about this all the time, but it's true. These guys sound like they're 30 years old. They're so mature. They're awesome kids. we got a great program to root for. We really do. I mean, it's something to be proud of. And something I'm not proud of. We have an update on the Trey McNUTT situation. So earlier this week, I posted a video that I made about Trey McNUTT being suspended by the OHSAA. I'm not going to go through the whole thing again. You can watch the video if you don't know what I'm talking about. It's a very unjust situation, so you might want to check it out. It's called Trey McNUTT versus the OHSAA. So Trey McNUTT, the number 2 safety in the country, an Ohio State recruit, has been suspended for breaking a rule. And I have some additional information after speaking with his mom. I posted that video, and I heard back from Trey and his mom thanking me for the video, which was really cool. I'm not a reporter, I'm just a fan, right? I just made a video, and I was able to talk to Trey McNUTT, which was pretty awesome. But anyway, not the point. The point is, Trey's mom shared with me something that I didn't know when I did the story that was not in the original article, and I think it's pretty relevant. So Trey, his mom said that she let the coaches at Shaker Heights know multiple weeks in advance that he was going down to Miami to compete in this 7-on-7 tournament, the one that he got suspended for. And the coaches never said word one. They didn't even know it was against the rules. So now after that, the AD has come out in this article and said no comment. And that kind of blows my mind that the Shaker Heights athletic director has elected to go the no comment route when his employees, his coaches, did not tell his player that was against the rules. His player who's now been suspended by the OHSAA. And I think that is a pretty cowardly act by the Shaker Heights athletic director to not take up for Trey McNutt and his mom, LaToya, over this clear mistake in his coaches by not letting their player know, their star player. Like, listen, if you've got the number 2 safety in the country being recruited by every college in the country on your team, you think maybe you want to brush up on the rules and how to advise this dude on what he can and can't do, because there's going to be a little extra spotlight on him. I would think that's what I would do if I had that caliber of kid on my team. But the Shaker Heights guys didn't, and it doesn't seem like they want to own their part in this or assist Trey in his fight on this. Anyway, LaToya has given me permission to share that, and I wanted to share it. So I would encourage all you guys to watch that and tell me what you think, and hopefully you agree. And if you do, spread the word, share the video. This is unjust, and this rule is unfair, and I hope that obviously everybody knows Trey's a big Buckeye recruit. Let's stand behind him and show him how we take care of our Buckeyes. So that'll do it for us today, guys. Got another show coming up tomorrow, so we'll have a weekend show. Thank you so much for joining me, and appreciate it as always. Juck on Bucks out.